In today's video, I'm looking at my best-selling clothing and shoe brands to thrift and sell online. So these are all brands that sell well for me on Poshmark, eBay, and Mercari. So I did really want to break this down into a little bit more specific information. I pulled this data into a table, and the inspiration behind this table was the BCG Growth Share Matrix, which I remembered seeing in one of my college marketing classes. On the top, I have sale price, and then on the side is turnaround time. So these are brands that typically either have a high sale price of more than $30 or a low sale price of less than $30. And then brands that have a typically high turnaround time of more than 90 days or a low turnaround time of less than 90 days. I did have to film this intro like 8 times because I'm a little rusty after taking a break. So hopefully we got it, and let's just jump right in. First section are brands that typically have a low sale price of under $30 and a high turnaround time of more than 90 days. So these are brands that are probably going to sit for a little while for me and not leave me with a huge profit, but they are brands that I can count on selling. So the first one is Columbia. Columbia typically sells for me from anywhere from $10 to $25 for things like hiking shoes, hiking pants, or sweaters, things like that. It can be a brand that sells for quite a bit more, especially if it's like a ski jacket or the titanium line. I did sell that vintage Vamoose ski jacket for I think $60. It's definitely a brand that can have outliers and items that sell for quite a bit, but typically items sell right around that $10 to $25 range. So it's not a brand that I would spend much on, but if I find it at the Goodwill bins, then it's usually worth flipping. Next up is Zara. So Zara does typically sell for me for under $30 and take a little while to sell. Definitely not a brand I will spend too much on, so I would recommend only being on the lookout for that brand if you aren't spending that much for it or if it's not priced too high. And let's see, the newest Zara tag is definitely the one I'm on the lookout for. Trendier pieces by Zara definitely do the best. I usually will pass on really basic items, like if it was just a plain white t-shirt or tank top or something like that, I would probably pass. But for items like blazers or sweaters or anything that's pretty on trend and a little bit more substantial, they can do really well, and even though they're not flipping for a ton, it's still a pretty consistent seller. Next up is J. Jill. For J. Jill, I'm definitely on the lookout for items with a little bit of a more substantial material like linen or wool. J. Jill isn't a brand that is going to resell for a ton, but if you can find it for a low cost and it is something that will last a long time with one of those nicer materials, people definitely are willing to spend right around that $20 to $25 mark on the resale market from my experience. So it can do really well, and I know that if I list an item by J. Jill, it will probably sell eventually, but it does take a while to sell. Next up is Torrid. So I really only have experience selling Torrid tops, things like sweatshirts, blouses, and sweaters. I've never actually sold any pants or jeans or anything like that, so I can only speak to tops. But tops by this brand tend to do pretty well for me, and they do take a little while to sell a majority of the time, and they don't leave me with a major profit since they typically sell under $30, but they are a brand that has a lot of really cute plus size items, and for that reason alone, it's worth thrifting a lot of the times if it's in good condition, just to be able to offer bigger sizes to my customers. The last brand for the low profit, high turnaround time is Pretty Little Thing. So I'm definitely picky with items from this brand, and almost every Pretty Little Thing item I've ever sold has taken quite a while to sell, but usually it does sell. And for me, it's definitely about the trendier items by this brand or items that are new with tags, or preferably new with tags and trendy. But if it's something like really basic, and if there's even the slightest flaw, I will pass on it. It has to be in perfect condition or new with tags and a trendier style in order for it to do well, in my experience. But it does typically sell pretty well. You know, it won't sell quick and it won't sell for a lot, but it usually does move for me. So if I can find it for a low cost, a lot of times it is worth it. Next, we're gonna look at the brands that sell for a high price, typically of over $30, and a high turnaround time. So these are items that sell for a high amount, but I'm usually sitting on them for a while. So it is better than sitting on them for a while for a low price, which is what we just looked at. So this is, to me, kind of like a good next step up. These are brands that if I thrift them, I know that once they do eventually sell, they will leave me with a really good profit. First up is Coach. So Coach bags have sold for me a majority of the time between $30 and $65. They have sold up to $85 and then as low as $20. So typically they do sell within that $30 to $65 range for me, but I typically find these at Savers or Goodwill. So when I'm thrifting at the Goodwill bins, which is a majority of my thrift trips lately, I just don't usually find Coach that often. So when I'm at the thrift store, I'm usually going to pay like $9.99 or somewhere right around there for a Coach bag. So it has to be in very good condition. The inside needs to be pretty clean. The exterior needs to be pretty clean, and preferably it has like that Coach hang tag that indicates that it's real. But they definitely can sit for quite a while. The most recent Coach bag I sold took 571 days to sell. So they don't always take quite that long. Sometimes it can take like 4, 5, 6 months, but it does end up leaving me with a good profit 9 times out of 10. All right, next up is Anthropologie. So this includes the brands sold at Anthropologie like Maeve, Sundry, and Saturday Sunday. These are not just Anthropologie branded items, but also items sold at Anthropologie. So these can sell for quite a bit, especially things like sweaters, jackets, or jeans, but they do usually take a while for the right buyers to come along. So they're not my fastest flips by any means, but once items from Anthropologie sell, they usually do leave me with a good profit and sell for quite a bit. But again, those certain categories like jackets, sweaters, and jeans definitely do much better than like a basic blouse or a top or a tank top or something like that. So those are what I'm really on the lookout for when it comes to Anthropologie. All right, next up is Minna Parika. So I only actually have one experience selling this brand, but I needed to call it out because I think it's an absolute bolo brand. And if you ever come across it, I would definitely recommend looking up comps and grabbing it. I bought this pair of pumps from Goodwill for $40 and then sold them on eBay for $135. And they did take 298 days to sell, so it's definitely not a brand that everyone is on the lookout for. It probably will take a while to sell, but that sale price is really great. And I know a lot of celebrities wear this brand. I think it's a little bit more of a higher end brand, but they are super unique and really high quality. So they hold their resale value, and seriously be on the lookout for this brand. Next is Rebecca Taylor. So items from this brand can sit for quite a while, but they do retail for a lot and I think hold their resale value decently well. Not amazingly well from my experience, but especially if the item has a more substantial material like cashmere or silk, or if the item is new with tags. Those are things that I would definitely consider grabbing, or if I'm at the bins and it's $1.50 and I can sell it for $35, you know, that's going to be worth it, but it definitely can sit for a while from my experience. So I am a little bit picky when it comes to this brand, and I don't come across it a ton, but I have passed on a couple items that were either really worn or just really basic. So I recommend being on the lookout for items that are a little bit more of a substantial material, because those probably will sell for more. All right, and then lastly is Reformation. So actually nothing I've ever sold by Reformation has sold for under $30. So this brand consistently sells for a high sale price for me. And typically items do take a little while to sell, more than 3 months, but they do end up selling for a good price when they do sell. So it's a brand that I pretty much never pass on if I find, as long as it's in good condition. Next are brands that have a typically low sale price of under $30, but a low turnaround time of less than 90 days. So they sell for a pretty low sale price, but they sell pretty quickly regularly. So these are brands I'm definitely on the lookout for and usually find basically every time I go thrifting at least one of these brands. So these are some of my tried and true favorite and best brands to sell, because even though they don't usually leave me with a major profit, I can count on them selling pretty quickly. So first is Lululemon. And in my experience, pretty much all Lululemon in good condition and listed with a exact style name sells well. It was actually a pretty even split for Lululemon items that had a low turnaround time and sold for either a low price or a high price, but the majority of them were a low price, so I did put it in this. but it actually was almost even split with the next category that we haven't done yet, which are items that sell quickly for a high price. So Lululemon definitely can be over there as well. But for me, typically it is going to be under $30. That's mainly because a lot of times I do find tank tops and sports bras by Lululemon. However, full length and like 7/8 length leggings, and then sweatshirts and jackets, or even their lined shorts, can pretty consistently sell for $40 or more. So that's definitely a brand that almost always sells quickly for me, surprisingly. Sometimes it sells for more, sometimes it sells for less, kind of depending on the category, but I have really good luck selling Lululemon, and I just feel like if you have the style name, like if you're able to do enough research to find the style name and include that in your listing, it definitely can sell for a good amount and sell very quickly, honestly. All right, and then next up is Madewell. So this brand definitely used to sell for more. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Madewell has kind of gone downhill a little bit just in terms of how much it sells for. Even denim sells for quite a bit less now than it used to. When I first started reselling a couple years ago, I could sell a pair of Madewell jeans for like $75, and now Madewell seems to sell for $40 and below for me, most often below $30. When it comes to Madewell, I just want to make sure that it's in really good condition and either a more recent style or a style that isn't heavily saturated on Poshmark and eBay. So as long as it checks those boxes, I will usually grab it, and then it usually does sell pretty fast, but for a low profit. All right, and the next up is Free People. Free People sells really well for me, and it can move really fast depending on the style. For me, Free People tends to sell pretty quickly in under 3 months and then sell for somewhere between $20 and $30. The Free People categories that tend to do best for me are sweaters and dresses, and jeans have done pretty well for me in the past as well. Next up is Spanx. So Spanx usually sells pretty quickly for me, but for under $30. And jeans, those like stretchy, kind of like jegging-like jeans by Spanx have done really well for me. And then their shapewear does well, but I will say shapewear, if you're gonna thrift the shapewear to resell, I definitely recommend either getting new with tag or very gently worn shapewear. I did sell a pair of shapewear shorts that were pretty heavily worn, and they took 308 days to sell. So they did eventually sell, but it took almost a year and they did not sell for much. So that's a brand that I would definitely be on the lookout for if you can find it new with tags or just in really good condition. And their jeans, definitely grab those. Those can sell for more than $30. But typically items from that brand sell below $30 in my experience. And then lastly, for the low profit, low turnaround time brands is American Eagle. This brand actually sells surprisingly well for me and is very easy to come by. I see it all the time at the bins. So if it's a good pair of jeans, especially a more popular style, like the boyfriend jeans, mom jeans, wide leg jeans, anything like that, I usually will grab those, especially if I'm only paying a couple dollars, because they can sell for $20 to $30 and move so fast. Like sometimes those sell within 3 or 4 days. They can sometimes take a couple months, but even so, that's within that 90-day turnaround time. For American Eagle, I either will grab jeans or crew neck sweatshirts. I love grabbing their oversized crew neck sweatshirts. Those tend to do really well. I do check really thoroughly to make sure there are no stains or like major signs of wear or anything when it comes to American Eagle, just because then it pretty much won't sell. Like it'll take a lot longer and sell for a lot less. So when it comes to American Eagle, I'm definitely on the lookout for in excellent condition and preferably a newer style. The nice thing about American Eagle is their items all have the release date on the care tag, so you can always check to make sure it's a newer style, but that's definitely a brand that can do really well, especially their jeans. And lastly are brands that have a typically high sale price of over $30 and a low turnaround time of under 90 days. So these are high profit and fast flips, aka the best to come by basically. So these are brands that I'm always excited to find when I'm thrifting, and I don't necessarily come across them very often, but when I do, I definitely grab them and know that it's going to be a great flip. So first up is Aviator Nation. This brand, it's pretty much always on my mind. Every time I'm at the thrift store, I am like hoping I come across this brand, and the few times I have found it, it's sold really fast and for a high price. So I'll pick it up in any condition. I'll pick up women's, men's, kids in not so great condition, excellent condition, doesn't really matter. It still sells in my experience. I sold a sweatshirt for $200, like a hoodie. I sold a pair of sweatpants that had paint and wear on them for $70. So it's a brand that is very hard to come by in my experience, but anytime I have found it, it has not let me down. So if you ever find it, consider yourself lucky, and I would recommend grabbing it personally. Next up is Jenny Kane. So I've actually only found this brand at buy-sell trade stores like Plato's Closet. I've never found it at a regular thrift store or at the bins. Hopefully someday I will, but I pick it up even if I find it at buy-sell trade stores. I'll pay up a little bit for it. But it's an easy $100 plus for this brand, especially if it's a more recent style. Then definitely grab it. But I honestly think I would probably grab any item from this brand, especially because it's so hard to come by in my experience. And I don't know if that's just because people aren't really donating it that much and getting rid of their items by this brand, or if it's just like so quickly snatched up at the thrift store and so it's usually not there. But hopefully I do find it at the bins or at a regular thrift store soon. But that's definitely a good brand to be on the lookout for. Sells fast, sells for a high price. Next up is a Goldie. A Goldie's denim can definitely sell for $70 to $80 plus. And then even their sweatshirts have sold for around $50 for me. So this is definitely another brand that does very well. I love finding their jeans or jean shorts or anything like that. They sell so well. So love selling this brand. Again, I don't come across it a ton. It's definitely only been a handful of times that I've found it, but every single time it flips very, very well. Next is Mother Denim. So these jeans typically sell for me for right around $40 to $50. And I usually do actually find older styles of jeans and I still will pick them up. But I'm sure you could sell, you know, a newer style for more than $50. Let me know if you guys have any experience selling Mother and what it typically sells for you, because I've definitely heard some people say it can sell for more, but some people say it doesn't sell that well or like sell for that much anymore. My experiences have been pretty good with this brand as far as how quickly it sells. All right, and then lastly is Levi's Premium. So these jeans have the premium label indicator on the inside and then the big E on the tab on the back. And for me, these typically sell for $50 or more in a pretty quick amount of time, a low turnaround time. But I will say the styles that do best are the like 501s, the wedgie fit, or a wide leg or something like that. So those are definitely the ones I think that do the best. I will say even the mile high skinny jeans can sell for a pretty good profit, but they will just take a while to sell since not as many people are necessarily on the lookout. But Levi's premium jeans that are a pretty on-trend style can be really, really good flips and leave you with a great profit, flip quickly, everything you want in a good flip. Levi's Premium can definitely deliver. Alright guys, that is it for this video. I hope I wasn't too rusty after a 2+ week break without filming, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a like if you did and subscribe if you're not already. I can't wait to continue creating content this year for you guys, and I hope you stick around. Thank you guys so much for helping me get almost to 2,000 subscribers. That's a great way to start the year, so thank you guys so much for those of you who have stuck around. I really appreciate you, and thank you so much for continuing to support me. So I hope you guys have a really good rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video.